So we're going to take up some of these molecular compounds just to make sure you guys are on the right page here, okay? So let's start with just writing out the names when reading the chemical formulas. So we have a carbon and an oxygen. Remember, the rule is when we have one of the first ones, we do not put mono. So no, mono means one. We don't put it for the first one. So for this one, we're just putting carbon. Okay? And then there is one oxygen, and for that one, we would do monoxide. Okay? Next one, same thing. We don't put the mono for the first one. And then we have dioxide. All right, so we have 2 nitrogen and 3 oxygens. For this one, we would do dinitrogen and then trioxide. Remember, we're still changing the ending on that second nonmetal to IDE. Okay, so here's a good one. So I talked about the diatomic elements, that 7-up rule, right? Those 6 that make the shape of a 7, and then you go up to the 7th one, which is hydrogen on the periodic table. So when we see that, don't just put nitrogen, put nitrogen gas, okay? Include the gas there. All right, well, this one just has one of each, so it's just going to be nitrogen, monophosphide. Okay? So we have 1 sulfur, so we're going to go sulfur, I'm going to do pH today. Sulfur dichloride. All right, this one we have diphosphorus. This one's a 5. We don't see too many of those ones. Pentoxide. Pentoxide, yeah, we didn't have the A in there. But if you did put the A and you I also give you the mark, okay? For this one, we have 1 nitrogen, so we're just going to go nitrogen, because we don't put the mono for the first one, and then it's going to be bromide. And then the last one again, even though it's 4 and it's not a 2 there, it is still the chlorine gas, okay? Because it's still just chlorine. It's just a chlorine molecule. So you'd still put just chlorine, but make sure you put chlorine gas, just like we did with your nitrogen gas. Include the gas there. Don't just put chlorine, okay? Now, I find this one the easiest because the prefixes tell you exactly the number, the subscript that you have to write down. So for this one, we have carbon, and it's only 1 there. And then it's tetrafluoride. So you have your Fl and then your 4 for tetra, okay? Just make sure that we're not flipping. Some kids, they like to do the ionic compound rule, and they'll flip the subscript over, like that crisscross rule. Make sure you don't do that. It's easy because it's telling you how many fluorine there is, okay? This is the easy part of it all. And then silicon, it's just 1 there, and then we have dioxide, so it's the O2. Dinitrogen, so we have 2 nitrogen. Trisulfide, so we have 3 sulfur. Okay, so I'm just trying to, there we go, that's better. Okay. Phosphorus, just 1, and then mononitride, so it's just going to be PN. Hydrogen gas would be just your H2. Okay? So once you've done this, you're going to do your polyatomics now. Do a couple of the polyatomic practice sheet, and then there's one other sheet I included that is everything mixed together, and I will take that one up to see how well you are at being able to distinguish between the different compounds. First thing you should always do, though, if you don't get, I was going to say, like, you can get comfortable when you see prefixes, you know it's molecular, but sometimes the prefixes look the same as if it were an ionic compound, right? If it was, actually, no, they wouldn't, because even with the mono, you'd see the mono on the second one. So hopefully seeing the prefixes would just be able to help you distinguish between the molecular ionic. But if that doesn't and you're still not comfortable with that, always, always, always just check to see if you're dealing with 2 nonmetals or a metal and a nonmetal. That way you can distinguish between the 2 of them, okay?